Okay, man, are you ready to go?
I'm ready to go. Now, come on, now crank this motherfucker up.
Break it down like this.
Hello, Internet. Gino, that Guino here again with another episode of Deep Listens. And today we are on our ranking of Fantasies nonsense once again. We have approached Final Fantasy XIII Part 3, Lightning Returns. So now we have to talk about Final Fantasy XIII again. I'm sorry, but I am joined, as always, by the person who did this to me, Chris ZombiePie Redacted. Hello.
Hey, Gino, can I ask you for, like, a quick piece of advice?
Yeah.
Referring to a fist bump as, and I quote, going to Pound Town, is that inappropriate? Because I have to go to a meeting in HR for telling a 61-year-old coworker, let's go to Pound Town together.
Sorry, but I think you're going to be fired.
Oh.
It does me no joy to tell you this, but I'm pretty sure that's a violation of something. I don't know what, but it's probably not good. And we are also joined, as always, by Jeff Rude. Hello, Jeff. Host
Hi.
of the Off the Deep End podcast and compatriot in Final Fantasy nonsense.
These are things that I do. I'm going to briefly be an ersatz Pete Busby today.
Oh, no. Don't put that evil on him.
Pete Busby. Wow. Oh, God. Okay. Yeah, I can't improv. I can't riff off that one. Animal facts, right? So we adopted a dog about 2 months ago.
Yay!
And we had a wager, a friendly wager of sorts, as to what the hell this animal was. It's a black dog. Wager between me and my spouse, basically.
Oh.
It's black.
I was just like in my head. It's like you didn't know it was a dog.
Oh no. The
oh no,
or whatever.
It's a raccoon.
Crap. The small stripe. No. So black dog has some like Shar-Pei features. So I was like, it's a lab Shar-Pei mix. She's like, no. There's like some husky in there, just based on the sounds it's making. We were both completely wrong. It is a Chow Rottweiler mix with some extra like retriever mutt in there, but it's mostly Chow and Rottweiler. So the net effect of this is I can never rent an apartment ever again.
No, but I will say you did manage to combine two, like the Shar-Pei lab and the Chow Rottweiler. I can see that both of those things would result in a similar looking dog.
He's cute as hell. He's got these dinky little ears and totally mellow. Like you say Rot and Chow, and you're like, oh, it's a guard dog. It's like, nah, he's Goku. He's a golden retriever in his head. He's
Is his
moron.
name Goku?
No, but he plays the part pretty well. So anyway, animal facts.
Does he have a floppy face, like all the folds?
He does. It's like not quite there, but if you squish his face, it all comes out, and he's got all sorts of speckles on his tongue and just these little itty bitty ears.
Oh, that's the Chow giveaway. The speckles on the tongue.
It's the Shar-Pei giveaway too, though. It's the thing. That's why I was like, but anyway. So
here we are.
Fun animal stuff.
Awesome. So before we get into discussing Final Fantasy XIII Lightning Returns, I guess it's Lightning Returns : Final Fantasy XIII. We have our normal plugs, so you can get in touch with the show at Deep Listens Pod on Twitter, deeplistens@libsyn.com. We have our comment sections and deeplistenspodcast@gmail.com. You can support the show on patreon.com/deeplistens. And if you were to do so, it'd get you access to our community Discord, where you can make suggestions for what Off the Deep End should play and what for Deep Listens should play. You can get into the slush pile of games that Off the Deep End is covering. You also could push us perilously closer to playing Unlimited Saga, which we are only about 2 or 3 patrons away from that, depending on when you're listening to this.
It could also help Jeff sing karaoke.
Yes, that's also true. So go ahead, if you've been enjoying the show, get in the Patreon, get in the Discord, ride the lightning. And we also have ZP. I heard you had something that you wanted to discuss before we discussed Final Fantasy XIII Lightning Returns.
So I gave you all homework.
Did
I gave you all homework. I told you guys that you needed to do something for this podcast bit, And we're coming close in terms of when we started the recording for this episode. No idea when this will go out, but it'll still probably be summer. We've hit summer blockbuster time, when all of the movie industry comes out and hits us hard with their biggest hits, like Morbius.
Yeah.
You know,
great films
whatever
like Morbius.
Awful Illumination animated picture we're gonna have to watch and deal with because it's got some sort of viral infectious song. Whatever. So I've asked both of you as well as myself to find promotional tie-in foods for the food reviews. Hey, everybody that's listening, I tricked them all to join the food review segment today.
I had a Domino's Stranger Things, a slice of Domino's Stranger Things pizza yesterday. Does that count?
Oh, no, it doesn't.
No,
but
okay. Damn it.
You're spoiling my bit.
Oh, I didn't even know I was spoiling your bit. So should we announce what we got?
Sure. I bought a Stranger Things Walmart promotional tie-in pizza, but my flavor is pineapple and pepperoni, or pineapple and jalapeno. No meat on this.
It's the pizza of the gods.
Oh, that makes sense, because the Domino's order that I saw yesterday, there were 4 pizzas, and one of them was pineapple and jalapeno, and I thought,
it's a special order that one of the kids does on the television show, and they all give him shit because he likes pineapple on his pizza.
Okay, that checks out. I was very confused by the pizza, because no one would ever intentionally order that. So, okay.
Just speak for yourself.
Yeah,
right.
Pineapple's fine.
That's practically my go-to order for a pizza.
Jeff, what did you order?
What did you get?
I bought blank. I don't have anything.
How dare you?
Yeah.
He dares.
Tell you what, put another day in the week.
I gave you 3 days to get something. I gave you homework. I'm failing you.
Well, I did my homework.
That's fine. I will hold me back. I dare you.
I did my homework, ZP. You know what I got?
Okay. What did you get?
I got Sonic the Hedgehog sweetened honey flavored cereal with Sonic marshmallows.
Oh.
From General Mills. And on the box it says Sonic 2, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, only in theaters.
Cereal.
Only in theaters. And on the back it's got Green Hill Zone on it.
All right. So are the marshmallows shaped to Chaos Emeralds?
They're stars and Chaos Emeralds, it would appear.
Okay.
Oh, or maybe it's a hedgehog. I can't even really tell.
What is the listed fake fruit flavor that they're trying to imitate here?
Like it doesn't say that. It says honey and Sonic marshmallows. It doesn't say anything. But it does on the back say, I can race through Green Hill Zone and help Sonic find all 100 gold rings as fast as I can. If I do it in 1 minute or less, it's supersonic. 1 to 3 minutes, it's too easy. 3 to 5, I'm waiting, and over 5 minutes, got to step it up.
All right, Gino.
And then it says, once I find all the gold rings, see if I can find all 7 Chaos Emeralds.
Man. Okay, that sounds good. I need to find this. So open it up. It's vegetarian friendly for you, right?
Probably. Well, maybe not. There's probably some. Let me see.
Dried jerky.
That would be great. You know, honestly, I was thinking because it's a marshmallow that there might be. What is it?
Some horse hooves.
Some horse hoof in there, but you know what? I don't actually see any in the ingredients, which is in many ways more upsetting than if it actually had. What is the dang?
I mean, the marshmallows in those cereal have this like styrofoam quality to them. Like I don't think there's any natural ingredients in cereal marshmallows.
Yeah, and I was told that the marshmallows in cereals, because regular marshmallows use some form of gelatin, it's actually a completely different process.
Yeah, there's no gelatin in this. So I'm gonna go ahead and open this up.
Probably not shelf stable.
Have you seen shelf stable milks? It's pretty cool.
I mean, I'm a put sweetened condensed milk in my coffee guy, so I have a lot of canned milk.
All right, I'm smelling it right now.
Yeah.
And it smells fine. Smells like a very generic cereal. I will say that the marshmallows on this, off-putting colors that I've never seen in a cereal marshmallow before.
Oh, I'm gonna look this up.
I would describe one of them as like a pale ghostly green, and the other one is kind of a A periwinkle.
Huh.
Yeah, I'm looking at a picture of this. This looks the green does not look as pronounced as it is. It's like comparing the picture of on the box and the actual opened it up thing.
Yeah, they don't match. The colors don't match what's on the box. I've got a handful now. I'm gonna let me try a ring.
You're gonna do this raw, no milk?
Yeah, no milk. I'm just trying a ring.
Savage. I support it.
Huh. The rings don't taste great.
Mm.
They're
they're just honey O's though.
Yeah.
How do you fuck up honey O's?
Oh, you can fuck them up.
The sweetness isn't well distributed, I would say.
That's a cereal problem.
I
in
find
general.
I enjoy, your Honey Nut Cheerios. This is not of a Honey Nut Cheerio quality. It's not good enough. Let's try one of these marshmallows.
What's the texture of the marshmallows is now what I need to know.
It's exactly a Lucky Charms marshmallow.
Yeah.
Cool. So it's awful.
Let me go ahead and put the combined cereal in my mouth and see how it is. Yep.
How many stars?
I'm going to say 2. It's like, I don't think I've ever tried a promotional cereal that is this bland. It's like they managed to make Lucky Charms, but somehow with like, I don't know. I guess it's more flavorful. The rings are more flavorful than the Lucky Charms non-marshmallow bits, but it's still not great. So I'm going to say 2 stars, 2 rings out of 5.
Okay. All right, pizza. So
you probably don't want this. It won't make you upset or sick, but it's not great. Go ahead, ZP.
So like I said, this was a frozen pizza. This was not fresh. So this is a frozen pizza. I wrote down the company that made this, but I'm going to get up to get another thing. As I was cooking this, I had an overwhelming feeling of the crust being like soda bread, like my entire apartment complex filled with this smell of a soda bread. So right off the bat, that's just not what I usually like for my crust. I like a thin crust, but this came out nice. You hear that? So it's crispy. Now, I did something that's going to personally and culturally offend Gino.
Okay.
I put something on this pizza. So I have one that is the normal pizza as God intended. It's just jalapeno and pineapple with the regular marinara sauce.
I just would like to clarify something real quick. God had nothing to do with that pizza. Go ahead. Continue.
What I did is I am a meat eater. I need meat in almost everything that I eat, especially for my main meal of the day. So I was thinking, it's a pineapple jalapeno pizza. What do you have to do? You have to put ham on it, right? Because ham goes well with pineapple.
And jalapeno.
Well, I didn't have ham.
Oh, no.
So I had to use something that I probably shouldn't have, but it was the closest approximation to ham that I had.
Did you have Spam?
So I used I used a package of high-quality, authentic prosciutto.
Oh, fuck yeah. All right, get in, man.
So I put a package of authentic Italian prosciutto on this frozen pizza.
Is this prosciutto di Parma?
Yes.
Fuck. Okay, so you classed this pizza up a lot.
Yeah. The average cost of this package, I got this as a gift, and the average cost, I looked it up, is about $20.
Yeah.
That's so I put like $20 worth of meat on this pizza.
And the pizza itself was what, $2?
It was about $6, $7 because of inflation, and also it's a tie-in. So I'm gonna go ahead and bite this. This is the normal piece. This is just jalapenos and pineapple. I will say that when I opened it up, I was kind of impressed at how the jalapenos weren't like pickled jalapenos. They were actual fresh, flash frozen, freshly cut jalapenos. And the pineapples were not frozen as well. They were just, pineapple chunks. So fresh ingredients.
So as you're chewing, I would just like to ask for a question, like a recommendation here for when you review things for this pizza. I want a review for the pizza. I want a review for the pizza plus the prosciutto di Parma. And then I want a review for the prosciutto di Parma to see exactly how much of the power of the combined is prosciutto di Parma just putting on for its city.
Huh. I think that this is under cheese. There's not enough cheese on this. The crust turned out good. It's a little doughier than what I'd like, but it's a frozen pizza. This is like a full crust rather than a thin crust frozen pizza. The jalapenos actually work well with the pineapple, so it's like a tangy. These are not super spicy jalapenos, by the way.
Okay. So what is the sum of all of these parts, do we think?
The sum of that is, I definitely think this needs meat. I definitely think this needs more cheese. I'm gonna give this a 3.5. It's a decent pizza. All right. Let's start this by just taking off a piece of this crispy prosciutto.
Jeff, while he's chewing, have you ever had prosciutto di Parma?
Yes, I've had a good quality prosciutto. I've had prosciutto of less auspicious lineage. I'm a big fan of just pork belly prepared and served almost any form you can get it. That's my go-to like Yule feast thing every year. So
okay. That crispy prosciutto is at least a 4.5 to a 5 out of 5. That is good stuff. Wowzers. Crispy prosciutto is good. All right, let's see if this flavor combination works.
Yeah, I'm just glad that, the work of my ancestors elevated this just abomination of a pizza.
Look, I understand that pineapple is a controversial pizza topping, but when you pair that with something spicy, I'll take one step further. The good people of the island nation state of Hawaii have done beautiful things with Spam. Okay, it was not a thing that they necessarily invented, but they took it and they really made it their own. And I think you could take some Spam and you could throw it on a pineapple pizza, and you can have a pretty good time. Okay.
Yeah.
I think,
so I gave the prosciutto parma, the cooked prosciutto parma, a 5, right?
Yeah.
I gave the regular pizza a 3.5.
Yeah. Now that they're together.
Pizza with the prosciutto is a 4.
Because the pizza has dragged the prosciutto down.
Only because I think that the prosciutto, I just layered it like one strip on top of another, and I think I put too much in on it. And so
you only need one strip.
Yeah.
It's incredibly salty. I use the entire package on this side.
Oh no, you should use one strip per slice at most.
Yeah.
Prosciutto is really it's an accent. You don't.
You've gone too hard in the paint, I believe you people say.
Yes, this feels like the situation where he tried to rank edamame by chewing it while in pod. Like it wasn't the edamame's fault. It's not the prosciutto's fault.
I don't have a branded item, but I will say I'm drinking a homemade Rainier cherry shrub right now, and it is very good.
No, wait, I have one more thing.
For fuck's sake, get your goddamn mouth empty.
Wait, I have the thing that I've been talking about for a while now.
I'm gonna feed you your fucking teeth next time I see you, you cretin.
ZP, I'm gonna need you to swallow before you talk again, or I will mute you, and we will move on with the show.
Okay.
Beat your ass in public.
Okay, I guess I won't just talk with my open mouth.
I have one more food review, and I gotta get it.
Oh, do you?
Oh, thank goodness! Finally, this Final Fantasy show has another fucking food review. Go ahead. What have you got?
Talk shit about me. I'm gonna be back.
What? He's leaving? What? He didn't even have the bit ready?
What kind of shit show do you run here, Gino?
I keep yelling at him, and it's not giving me results, and I don't have any other ideas.
You guys talking shit?
No. You're a handsome boy. Welcome back.
So, what did I threaten to eat on the last show, but I didn't because I did something different?
I feel like it's cat food every time, but was it not cat food this time?
Nope. This is Van Leeuwen's pizza-flavored ice cream.
Ah, damn.
Oh,
that sounds like cat food to me.
Tomato sauce on it. What the fuck? So I ate a pizza. Now it's time to dessert a pizza. I'm going to read the ingredients because I read the ingredients before I bought this and it frightened me.
God give me strength.
I'm going to turn on my camera for a second on the stream. Let me just...
So the ingredients are cream, milk, cane sugar, fresh tomatoes, sun-dried tomatoes, unbleached flour, which includes wheat flour, malted barley flour, and regular all-purpose flour, brown sugar, cream cheese, egg yolks, water, canola oil, inverted sugar, mozzarella cheese powder, spices, including Italian herbs, cornstarch, tapioca starch, pectin, lemon juice, sea salt, citric acid, soy lectin, and baking soda. Warning, contains eggs, milk, wheat, and soy.
Warning, contains vomit.
Okay. Oh, god damn. I gotta make sure I get the cheese balls and the tomato juice, right?
Don't just every sentence a new horror.
Eat.
Okay. So
How is it?
I ate the part that had the cream cheese in it. That was okay. But now I have to get the fucking mozzarella balls with the tomato juice.
Yep. Yes, you do. That's what you deserve.
What a sentence. I have to get the mozzarella balls with the tomato juice.
Oh. Okay. So it's sweet. It's like they took
Yeah, it's an ice cream.
No. They took the tomato sauce and they just mixed it with lemon juice. So it's like a super acidic tomato flavor.
Yeah, tomato's acidic.
I
don't like the cheese balls.
Yeah, I don't like this at all.
This exhibitionist ice cream needs to stop. I understand that there are people who want new flavor sensations, but we keep getting. Did either of you ever watch the Nathan For You episode?
It's not that bad. It's not that bad.
Have either of you watched the Nathan For You episode of poop flavored frozen yogurt?
I have not.
He suggests that a frozen yogurt place should have poop flavored frozen yogurt to get people in the door.
There's crumbly bits.
Great, it's got
crumbs.
crust. I bet it's got crust bits.
I mean, there's like flour in the. I was sitting here trying to work through like why, and I was like, oh, I bet it's chunks. I bet it's just like
crust,
basically raw pizza dough.
Yeah. So the idea in that
poo flavored yogurt, just like a oh my god, what's wrong with these people factor.
Let's
get
run
them
down
in the
the
door.
reviews.
Get people in the door so that they will look at this ridiculous thing and then they'll buy real yogurt.
Okay, so 3.5 regular pineapple jalapeno pizza, 4 prosciutto pizza on it, 5 prosciutto de Parma, pizza ice cream. It cost me $5 for a little mini pint. 3.
Oh, what a shame. All right, thank you for your food review and your contribution, Jeff. Thank you for not having a food review.
Like I said, make a Rainier cherry shrub. This is made out of Rainier cherries and a rosé vinegar and just white sugar. It was very good. Put that on some fizzy water. I mixed shrubs. If you guys are not familiar with shrubs, learn about them. They're very fun.
That's not just a bush?
It's not just a bush. They're like a
Show me your
preserved
bush.
fruit beverage syrup you can use in like some fizzy water and make a soda. You can put a little alcohol in there if you want. Make yummy cocktails. You can make mocktails with them very easily. They're cool. Good way to use fruit.
All right. Well, now that we're the clock says 24 minutes into this podcast, let's talk about Lightning Returns Final Fantasy XIII. ZP, you picked this. What is it?
This is a continuation and the culmination of the Lightning Pharaon story arc. Following the events of 13-2, in which Lightning reawakens from her slumber to try to break free her sister falling into slumber because she was killed at the end of the events of 13-2, in which her eye is revealed to be the Eye of Etro, and upon her death, that results in the death of the goddess Etro. The world of Final Fantasy XIII becomes locked into eternity, where no one is able to age because the goddess Etro is the goddess of death, and the only living god now is something that starts with the letter B. I forgot how to pronounce it. Upon correcting the timeline paradoxes in Final Fantasy XIII-2, we have restarted to the timeline of Final Fantasy XIII, and Lightning is now on a quest to reunite or bring back her sister by performing deeds and tasks for this god so as that once again people can live their own life full of destiny and die. And they've been stuck in this purgatory for, I believe, 300 years, 1,000 years? I forget.
An arbitrary long measure of time.
Long amount of time.
I have a starting question, I suppose.
Yes.
So we're not going to go very deep into this game here on this first episode, I guess, to put that on the table right now.
Yes.
But there's things to talk about. But before we even dig into that, I just want to ask Gino specifically, what did you think of the first hour of this game? Because as I was playing through it, I thought to myself, you're going to bite a hole in your lip. This is going to make you want to bash your head against a brick or something, immediately.
Yeah, so the first hour of this game is gibberish. It is just characters saying proper nouns to each other over and over and over again. That me, as someone who has played Final Fantasy XIII and XIII-2, was incomprehensible. They pretty much abandoned. It is
everything.
Really. It's incredible to see a series with 3 games that use the same art assets, and each story says, you know what happened in the previous game? Go to hell. We don't care about it. It doesn't matter.
That's just it. There's familiar characters and iconography in this opening hour, but they're all in such new and alien contexts that it is functionally just a new game.
They don't behave or act the way as we previously saw them. This is our first time seeing Lightning since she was a Valkyrie goddess trying to kill Caius.
Yeah, a Valkyrie goddess who is in the opening cutscene of 13-2 and the opening gameplay, and
that's
then
not true.
Nothing
That's not true. That is actually not true.
She shows up at the end.
This is where it is important to note, if you played the DLC tie-in for 13-2, some of this actually makes more sense.
Oh, of course. If I had bought the DLC tie-in to the sequel to a mainline Final Fantasy game, the original 13-2, she is in the opening cutscene, she shows up a little bit in the middle, and then she shows up at the end. She's barely in that game. And so jumping from, she's the main character of 13, but 13 is bad storytelling, so there's not too much there. 13-2, she's barely in that game, except a DLC apparently. And then in 13-3, she is now the main character again, but all of her personality traits have been kind of obliterated.
And to be perfectly honest, I'm okay with that because Lightning in the first game was such a nothing burger. I actually like her having a personality in this game.
So I poked around about this game because it's weird, right? So they made, as you know, they made Final Fantasy XIII, and God decided it was not good. And they made a sequel called 13-2, which God decided will be just a little bit better, but not actually good. But it's kind of okay, I guess. They chunked that game out, right? Very clearly that the ending is a cliffhanger. They had, it was the era of story DLC, right? Asura's Wrath is the example of this, but 13-2 kind of winds up being one of those games in a scuzzy way, specifically because of the Lightning stuff. There's a DLC around Saj, which is literally just playing a casino for a while.
Completely ancillary, it's not required.
Yeah, there's a snow one, which is a
fun,
Coliseum
but not
thing.
Necessary.
Yeah, and then there's this Lightning one, which is not particularly long or particularly deep, but ZP put an article up on Giant Bomb about this that's worth reading if you haven't.
Yes.
Because what it does is it takes the 13-2 combat and kind of spins it on its head a little bit, where she is just basically a solo dolo character in a boss fight that you just kind of keep repeating until you beat it, and then you get some story content, but it more or less situates her as she is going to be at the start of this game. And it was released inside of a calendar year after 13-2 came out, I think, but a while after. And it's pretty clutch to this whole arc. It's the Jar Jar Binks of this thing. Jar Jar is the key to the whole story. I don't know what the cost of this anymore because I bought the freaking season pass for 13-2, so I'm the dumbass here. But It really does stitch these things together in a way.
You learn about the direction that they plan to go with Lightning Returns. They completely get rid of up to this point, we had seen Commander, we had seen Sentinel, we had seen Synergist, and now in this DLC we see Black Knight, White Mage, the traditional Final Fantasy jobs. We also saw, like Jeff said, it's just one character moving forward, trying to tackle one boss. And then, like I said, the connective tissue, the gap that it bridges, yeah, it's weird and wacky, but it actually is an attempt to bridge this gap. I agree with Gino, though. I think it's complete malfeasance to do this. This is awful. This should not have been done. If anything, they should have just released an expansion pack. Just release it, an actual formal expansion pack. Instead, this was kind of released silently as part of the season pass, which everyone was doing at the time. And I would say like 1% actually played it.
Yeah. Well, and so this was a thing that they took to heart. So like, 13.2, it reviewed how it reviewed, and like the reception wasn't like rapturous or anything, but it was like, this is an improvement. However, you're still in the 13 universe, and also you did this thing where you chunked out the story in this like patently shit way. So they took that to heart, and when they started developing this game, which apparently happened like immediately after Lightning, that DLC shipped, with a very short time frame, they made this game in about a 18-month window, basically.
Only
which is
a
crazy.
year and some change is the amount of development time, which we'll talk about because it clearly shows.
Oh yeah, you can see it.
You could see where the money didn't go.
But the early stated goal they had was like, okay, this is going to be a complete, that we are not chunking out parts of the story into DLC in this again. A thing that they incidentally went back to in 15, which is insane, but here we are. So sorry, we have fans of 15 here, but oh my God. So they did that, and they started, okay, well, what could we do in this scope if we want to have this limited thing based on where we drove this story already? So two concurrent threads sort of came together. They wanted to make something that was kind of open worldy. They'd been playing other games. They had touched the Skyrim, which came out in 2011. They had touched the Dark Souls. They were interested in the idea of a world-driven game with NPCs that were kind of like acting as agents unto themselves without the player necessarily driving all the action in the world. So from there, the two influences that get cited in interviews, and this, I dug through these, and then Wikipedia corroborates both of these. One of them, the game, a staff person. The Wikipedia article says it was Yuji Abe. So there you go. Game design director. Learned about the Doomsday Clock, which is a literal thing run by a group of, let's call them political scientists. There are people that are interested in like how far we are from the world ending in terms of just like global conflicts and like potential like, nuclear weapon discharge, etc. So they learned about that. Okay, interesting time concept. So there's like a real obvious video game touchstone when you talk about time stuff, like a real big one, right?
Legend of Zelda.
Yes, that's right. The
Majora's
2011
Mask.
movie In Time, starring Justin Timberlake.
Ah, damn it.
Which is a thing that was specifically cited by Square staff as a big influence on the design of this game.
Wait, what?
Is the movie In Time. The Amanda Seyfried, Justin Timberlake vehicle.
The one where Justin Timberlake is selling time so that he can hang out with Amanda Seyfried?
Yes.
Yeah, and you'll be happy to know, Gino, that they were also thinking about going in one of two directions. Like, oh, let's either do. There was like a group of people that wanted to do open world time stuff, and it's like they cited Elder Scrolls Skyrim. And there was another group of people that wanted to make it hard edge gameplay, kind of like Dark Souls. And the people who really liked In Time and Skyrim won. And so this is not a Dark Souls game, and it almost was.
But like, In Time.
Yeah, right.
It's amazing. That is like the Sonic staff being like, God, it's so glad I could take a break from the games I was working on to like play some stuff. And they played Jak 2. And then the next thing they made was like Shadow the Hedgehog. They were like, you know what we need? Some edginess. Like, ugh.
Sonic needs more guns.
Yeah. So anyway, In Time. No one's.
Also,
this is the most anyone's talked about this movie in like a year.
When Gino is going to talk about why are the worlds so big? Well, you'll be happy to know that the lead game design team were the Final Fantasy XI team. So the design of the open worlds were made by a large portion of the Final Fantasy XI team.
Oh boy. Yeah, so
There's your production history.
fuck. Yeah, that's just I really like that their inspirations were other more successful games that this game bears like passing resemblance to, and a film starring Justin Timberlake. Like that's, and I guess Louis Vuitton, because this was the famous Final Fantasy XIII Louis Vuitton spread, right? Where it was just Lightning holding like high fashion items. That was from this, right?
That sounds right. I mean, she was barely in 13 too, so like this is like the whole scale rehabilitation, I guess, of Lightning as a character. Like they really thought about this individual, and like that's another thing they identified as like they'd gotten criticisms from people who played the game, and also maybe just as like adults who grow and learn and like feel stuff. They're like, she wasn't that much of a character in 13. Like, what if she wasn't just like a shogo or whatever? Like, what if she had like thoughts and felt
feelings?
Yeah. So yeah, they tried, but you could write a review. We could end this podcast. We could end talking about Lightning Returns by just saying they tried.
Yes.
But I really think they did. Like they really did. Like they were still trying to juice this turnip at this point is kind of remarkable, because it was clear to like all and sundry that this was not working.
Yes.
But they had to.
So the reason why you said that I would swallow my tongue at the beginning of this game is that the plot is it's the end of the world. The like time has stopped. Basically, everyone is trapped in whatever body they were in when Sarah died. Lightning is now reborn as a servant of the God, and they keep saying of God.
Yeah.
She is an agent.
Literally just saying God.
Yeah, it's
God.
the plot of the Blues Brothers. She's an agent from God. She's on a mission from God.
She's got the Elwood tattoo.
Yeah, and so she is on a mission to save as many souls as possible, because at the end of the world, this world will be destroyed, and God will take whatever souls she frees and saves and use them to populate the new world. And so she is tasked with trying to save as many people in the next like 6 or 7 days as she possibly can. And that's the mission. You then get dropped in the world. Also Hope is there, and for some reason Hope is not like adult Hope that
I've
we see from 13-2.
explained this to you at least 3 times. By resetting the timeline and fixing the paradoxes, the Hope of 13-2 does not exist, and as a result, we're going back to the end of the events of 13.
But
it doesn't make that much. It's not that big of a deal.
But Sarah dies by the time Hope is already an adult.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah,
By
she died.
fixing the timeline, it returns us back to the events of 13.
So Sarah in this timeline dies at like as soon as
shortly after.
That is not why. That's not even what 13.3 says. Lightning says, Hope, why are you a child again? And Hope says, I don't know. I just woke up this way, and also there are gaps in my memory.
Okay, so it was God. A wizard did it.
Yeah. I mean, yes. As long as you can accept that the answer for many of these questions of like why is anything in this game the way it is, as long as you can accept that the answer is fuck you, we don't need to explain, because it is now.
Like, look, we have like the designers of this game's like, look, we have so many other problems. Like we've really made this not fun or easy to do for ourselves, and you're sitting here asking these questions. So fuck you, wizards. Just figure it out.
God did it. God did it.
The God that's basically a spaceship.
Yeah, it's
if I'm
really
not mistaken.
It's amazing to see how many holes they wrote themselves into just by like the plot of 13, and then in each subsequent game they write themselves out of whatever the plot was, because the people who are in charge now are different, and they still have all of these assets that basically it's like a developer showed up at the Unity asset store, and all they had was Final Fantasy 13 assets, and they're like, well, I need to look, I'll take the old Hope model, and I think I'm gonna make Valkyrie profile.
Well, we'll talk about that. But fun fact, like, just to give you an idea of like how fast and slapdash this game was, this was the first proper Final Fantasy game where Square did not even invite Amano to do the logo art. So that double bolded Lightning Returns Final Fantasy XIII, that's the logo. And it's the only Final Fantasy game that doesn't even have an eye catch that was designed by Amano at all.
Yeah, I mean, this game is, boy, you could see the location,
tried.
Like the art, any new art that they made looks so much worse than the art that they had from 13 left over, because 13 is still the best looking of these three games by a country mile, because that's the one that got attention. 13.2 and 13.3 are like 10.2. They had these leftover assets, they could reuse them, and they did.
What's crazy is, according to the Wikipedia, there actually wasn't a lot. Like, they had to generate a lot of new assets for this game. Apparently.
They definitely did. Like, there are a bunch of character models that, look, there are no NPCs in most of 13 and 13.2. So
yeah, I mean, there's that, and then like whatever the fucking engine that they were using for these games was that they codged together.
The Crystal engine.
The Crystal engine was not built to do this.
Yeah.
Like at all.
Or was the White engine? Regardless, one of those engines.
Yeah. The Crystal engine was very good at making Final Fantasy 13 a game where, for better or worse, it's kind of a linear game. It wasn't really meant to do this with systemic clockwork, like city like environments with people like, oh, at 5 o'clock I have to walk to the store every day. Like
you look at the fruit stand, it's like a 2D polygonal thing that looks like it came from a PS2 game.
So I guess more power to them for clutching this together in about a year and a half. Like that's genuinely impressive. But they kind of just made Valkyrie profile.
Yeah, this is
the Crystal Tools engine is what it's called. So like the plot is you're going down to these cities of like last bastions of humanity, and you're trying to basically do side quests for people, and you have 7 days, and time elapses over real time. And that's all you're doing. That's all the guidance you get. You get dropped in the world, and then there's some side quests. There are some main quests, and you have a quest log in this game.
Which is absolute dog shit.
Yes, absolute dog shit. You have main quests that kind of advance the plot. You have side quests, and the payouts for these quests are Lightning does not level up through combat. She does not get experience that matters. She instead gets upgraded stats by doing side quests and main quests. That's how you up her stats. Her combat does not behave like it does in 13 or 13.2. It's a completely new combat system, basically, with, again, the bones of 13 grafted onto it. So the moves are the same, but the way you control everything is it's an action game. They made it into an action game, and you're basically doing kind of a bit of the 10-2 dress sphere system. You've got 3 outfits that Lightning can wear, and the outfits each confer different bonuses to her, like different attacks or different stat buffs. You can give her a different sword and a different shield for each outfit, and you're basically hot swapping between these 3 outfits based on what you need in combat. But the combat's much more action-oriented. You are pressing a button, and you attack immediately upon pressing the button. You have a guard, and if you guard at the appropriate timing, you basically parry the enemy and take way less damage or stagger them. If you attack when the enemy's readying an attack, you get critical damage. If you attack at the right time, you can actually move around during combat, though not very quickly. You can control lightning, so if there's an enemy attack that does some sort of AoE, you can conceivably move her out of the way of it. And then you've got bullet time, basically, that you can engage, where lightning moves very fast and nothing else does.
We need to have Gino on the Off the Deep End podcast because he does such a good job of explaining the mechanics of games. Yes, to everything that you said, Gino. On top of that...
just the last little bit here is, the combat's optional. It's not like 13 where the enemies are on screen and you kind of run into them because everything's linear. 13.2, there's random encounters. 13.3, Lightning Returns, enemies will spawn on the screen, but you can't just run away from them. And there is nothing.
It's a lot
you only
easier
get
than
gil.
13 too, where it felt like, shit, something popped off. There's literally nothing I can do. I have to fight this.
Yeah,
like
I mean, you get gil and you get the juice for the Yggdrasil as well, like in the dribs and drabs basically. But yeah, they chrono triggered it, right?
Yeah, they
and
basically chrono triggered it.
And you also get the like nonsense items that 13 has always had. Like the crafting items, which in the first game it was for crafting weapons. In the second game it was to strengthen monsters, and in the third game it is to complete side quests.
Conditions. Yeah, that's about it.
But they kept the icons. They kept all the UI for the most part. They kept
they changed the paradigms meter to a waveform thing, and I hated that. I missed the bar.
Mean the stagger bar.
The stagger bar. Yeah. The stagger meter has been turned into like a oscillating wave, and it changes colors, and it gets more fucked up whenever you hit the enemy too hard. But it's just too hard for me for most of the time to tell where.
I honestly don't care for the combat in this at all. It's less that I'm like, yo, they should go back to the 13 combat. That was great. Like, I'm not that, and nor am I a person that's like, it should just be menu based. I think it's for me the like fact that all of your attacks are individual, for lack of a better word, items that need to be maintained, and they can level and be fiddled with, and then you have to manually assign them. But you wind up with gear and equipment that also has some attacks on those that just fix into slots. So for instance, if you're like a fighting game person, let's say, which I'm not, but I play a lot of Tekken and some Virtua Fighter. It's like I'm used to having a block on, let's just say, square. There you can set yourself up so that defend, which by the way is one of these commands you can set up, can be on square. But you can manually assign that. But then you'll have some pieces of gear that'll just put an attack on square that you cannot move around. It's just where that lives. So you wind up having to like constantly check and be like, okay, I'm paradigm shifting from X to Y, and now my guard is on a different button and my heavy is on a different button. And I just think that is actually really shitty. I
would also say I don't think that the start of the game gives you enough equipment, because I always had one or two dresses that had absolutely nothing there other than one elemental attack and one regular attack.
Well, let me tell you what. You think you two like Final Fantasy. Well, I'm the biggest Final Fantasy sicko pervert of all of you, and I bought every single piece of DLC for Lightning Returns.
You should have played the PC version of the game. The Game Pass version just comes with everything.
I mean, I'm a proud card-carrying owner. I bought it all on my Game Pass discount, and I have everything. I have it all. So I dressed up as Yuna.
Once I found
dressed up as the other Yuna.
When I found the Yuna dress, like that dress in particular, I know Gino does not have this dress, the Yuna dress. The Yuna dress is fucking busted.
Yeah.
You just shoot like 2 balls of energy and it just murders everything.
Like, it's to the point where I've not actually leveled. Like, there's, like I said, your attacks are kind of items, and then your gear itself has levels on it. You can like sort of fuse swords and shit. And I've not engaged in any of those systems yet because the DLC costumes are so relatively overpowered to the opening of this game that I've basically like skipped a bunch of like learning curve, and it's probably going to bite me in the ass later because I bet they start to fall off, but maybe they don't. Maybe these are just going to be busted all the way through. Like, I don't know.
And I mean, it's worth saying, like, the only difference between these different outfits is the amount of strength bonus you get, defense bonus you get, magic bonus you get, and HP bonuses you get, and then what abilities they come with, and then maybe they'll have like your ATB fills up faster, or your ATB fills up slower, or your stagger fills up faster. There's not like a real reason. It's not like you're leveling them up, or there's a skill tree, or like they're skill capped in some way. Like, there's a bunch of outfits that are just strictly better than other outfits. Or there's outfits that just don't do anything. Like, they have no bonuses. There's no reason to use them other than you like how they look.
Yeah, but sometimes you want to put a goofy hat on Lightning, or show her tramp stamp.
The goofy hats don't actually do anything. They are just aesthetic. But the outfits, the non-cosmetic outfits, they, there are just better ones. And so, yeah, you might have gotten a great one. Like because I have saved data for 13 and 13.2, I was able to get a 13 and 13.2 outfit unlocked for free.
Yeah.
And they're not very good. They almost, like, the 13 outfit has almost no bonuses on it at all. I don't think it has any bonuses. So there's no reason to use it.
The goddess outfit for 13.2 is my, starting gambit, for lack of a better word. That thing seems pretty good, but I rotate off it to the Una one, immediately as soon as it's out of juice, and that tends to be my cleaner.
Yep.
Yeah, I have the Red Mage outfit and I think just like two of the fancy outfits, because this game, it's very clear that Tetsuya Nomura had a lot of fun just kind of designing outfits for Yuna. For Lightning.
For Lightning.
Yeah, and just creating more and more and more outfits. And so this game has got so many. There's so many that are useless. And then, like you said, ZP, the tramp stamp. She's got a Chocobo tramp stamp in some of them.
Yeah,
it's so weird.
Only with certain outfits, which to me suggests that there was one guy working on a handful of outfits, and he's like, yo, I'm going to put my mark on Lightning. And by put my mark, I mean literally put a mark on her.
Yep, it's dark
not
all
present.
the way down.
It's not present in other ones.
Fun fact.
Roberto Ferrari, is that you?
According to the Wikipedia, apparently they spent a lot of time ensuring that from virtually every angle, there's it is almost impossible to get a look at punts in this game. They really went out of their way to make sure you couldn't do that, because they know who bought this. Okay.
So a couple of things that before we get into the weeds of actually talking about the story. The first thing that I like, but it also kind of drove me crazy, were, these side quests. You're presented with this and I know Jeff is going to break out in hives when I say this, you're presented with a very Shenmue-esque format where it's okay, the next story beat will start here. Well, and then what do I do? It's whatever. You can do whatever. You can sleep to immediately go to the next story thing, or you could just faff about and meet people and complete little side quests. The problem with this format, and it's more than one format. The first thing is that the designations, the map markers, just knowing where to go to do stuff is a terrible time. I mean, sometimes you talk to people and they give you hints about where to find this part of the story, but you've already solved that part of the story, but they're here to give you that hint no matter what. Sometimes the NPCs are just complete window dressing. Sometimes the NPCs are quest givers, but because there's no quest giver icon, or it's not even displayed properly on the map, you wouldn't know that. Sometimes the side quests are just pick something over here and then give it back. Sometimes it's you got to come back during this very set amount of time at this specific location. The game doesn't tell you where any of these things are, or this information is not surfaced to you the best. But the real thing that really pissed me off, so just to give you an example. So the two last side quests I completed were the side quests where you pick up a little, is it a Moogle or is it a
Carbuncle doll?
Carbuncle doll.
This is in the first. This is in Luxoran.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's another side quest called The Girl Who Cried Wolf. Now, getting that girl her doll is literally go to this spot, pick it up, deliver it to her.
But you can only do it between, so just to give color there, you can only do it between the hours of 9 p.m. and 6 a.m. So if you try to find her between those times, she will not be there. Also, the Carbuncle doll will just be phased out of existence until those hours. So I knew what the solution was, but I had to basically wait around for 12 hours so that I could actually complete the quest. Very cool.
That said, it is a pick up and deliver side quest.
Yes. Yep, it's a fetch quest.
Okay. The Girl Who Cried Wolf is the one that involves, you were ringing in a phone booth, you pick it up, you hear a girl in distress, and you keep going to these different phone booths. And different phone booths only become available during specific parts of time, or depending on where you are at in the story. That quest has 4 or 5 different steps. It's not just a pick up and deliver. Here are the rewards for each of these quests. For getting that girl her doll, you increase your maximum HP by plus 30%, and you increase your base magic stat by plus 3. A 5-step part side quest that requires at least 2 days worth of investment. Maximum HP plus 40, strength plus 2, magic plus 4. So this little fetch quest and this 8-part process are basically the same reward.
The 8-part process is a better reward, but not by
Not
8
by
times
a
as much
considerable
effort.
amount. And I feel like the scale of some of these rewards with how much time you're investing into them, especially like getting that girl her potion from Chocolina, which I remember Gino tried to do that one too. And you have to go to like 3 or 4 different shop vendors.
You have to go to the Chocobo Emporium, which is not Chocolina. It is a different palette swap of Chocolina. And you need to get 3 different vendors. They each sell you different parts.
And they're at completely different corners of the environment.
Yep.
Yeah. And
They're
that vendor is only
world.
open specific hours.
Yep. And the vendors that I think sell you the constituent parts are also only open certain hours. So yeah, there's a lot of, you know what this game's really good for? A guide or a walkthrough if you want to go through it and see everything, because it's impossible to know all this stuff. You will never find it. The game doesn't give you the hints. It will guide you down the main quests and the side quests. It will give you like where to cache them in your quest log, but it's not going to tell you where to go to get the bits or what, like, there's no clock that says this is the timing you need to do this quest.
Sure.
Yeah. So I can see why people would look at this and go, oh, they made Shenmue, I guess. But I don't think it's necessarily apt, and I'll tell you why. So Shenmue...
watch out. He's a Shenmue pervert.
I mean,
go ahead.
They're really... Shenmue 1 is a really, really good game, except for the parts where it's pretty bad. But the thing about Shenmue, the structure of it is, basically it's a linear adventure game where you generally have like one thing you are doing, and then everything else is window dressing. There's a time component to everything, but the time component is like literally 6 months, right? So you have weeks and weeks of time that you could just literally walk around this town and do nothing, like at all. You can walk into people's apartments and look at their socks, like do nothing at all. There's no stakes in this. But there's like 13 different things you were doing at any given point, basically, in terms of like side quests and your main quest, all in like a stack. And they are keyed on, as you said, items that are just literally don't exist in the world until they are like at the appointed hour. Then they suddenly phase into being. And navigation, the Shenmue town is not exactly small, but it's basically 4 screens long. This feels so much longer to navigate, and
sure,
they kind of went to efforts to make it visually distinct. Some of the places, I don't think they're totally successful, but it's not a total wash there. It's just kind of a pain in the ass to get around.
Yeah, so they gave you in this game a run button, which is new for the series. They also gave you a jump button. In the first game, you had to like press X to engage your anti-grav jump or whatever. In this, there's just a jump button. It's not, context-sensitive button presses. So they do give you the ability to get around a little bit faster. The funny thing to me is that the run button is a limited tool. You can get tired, and Lightning's like, I guess I can't run anymore. Which, when you're going to make the world this big, why not just always be running? I don't know.
Lightning returns walks, so Breath of the Wild can run,
Yes.
But only for a while.
Yeah.
You've
got all these missions. They are all context sensitive. They're all time sensitive. And navigating the world, now credit to them, 13.2 has basically like 5 environments, and some of them are reused from the original game to a certain extent. So it's nice that this game, at least, there's more character in the like handful of locations you go to. It's not as reduce, reuse, recycle as 13.2 was.
Yeah.
But I don't know. A lot of these spaces are just a big map full of NPCs who sometimes have things to say, sometimes don't.
Yeah.
Sometimes have interesting side quests, sometimes don't. Like, some of the side quests are, help this girl get medicine for her dying father, and some of them are race this small child.
Sure.
And beat him in a
like
foot
I said,
race.
the rewards are not equitable for what you're doing here. Because that race one, you get like almost nothing. And then the one where you help a talking cat find the cat boy, that gave me like almost 100 HP.
I'll do you one further. Shenmue is actually better designed than this in a very specific way, because walking around in town in Shenmue, when you're, let's say, for instance, like looking for sailors, the famous thing, right?
Gino,
if you can talk to literally any NPC like literally all of them basically,
Put your foot down,
and speak to them and say, hey, I'm looking to find sailors. And they won't necessarily say, oh, go downtown, go to the bar. They'll be like, I don't know, but I think he knows, and they'll point you in a direction. Like,
yes,
literally everyone has a meaningful thing to tell you to help you get somewhere. Whereas, like, they tried to give all these individual clockwork agents walking around these towns and the illusion that there's, like, a living city here, but, like, 9 on 10 people on screen have nothing to contribute. They just are automatons that walk from A to B, and they, like, lend to this kind of fallow, empty feeling in this town.
And also, just worth saying, like, you can have 5 to 10, you can have a dozen plus side quests going at once, and yeah, one character might have something to say for one quest, but they might not have something to say for the quest you care about right now. Whereas Shenmue, the whole world is keyed in on whatever you're doing at any given moment. So the main quest, every character knows what the main quest is because everyone's just trying to help Rio? Is that his name, Rio?
Yeah. Again, I'm not going to sit here and say it's a perfect game, but in this sense, it's actually better designed.
The scope is smaller, and since the scope is smaller, you can actually know what the character should be talking about at any given moment. This game, very big.
The
very
scope
open-ended.
is I work for God.
Yes.
Yeah.
I work for God, and everyone gives me shit all the time. So the main quest that we'll talk about for this episode is, I think, the one in Luxeron. Luxerion. Yeah. So I also want to say something.
I do want to say that opening tutorial level where you're just at a masquerade that's hosted by Snow and it's just a bunch of ridiculous bullshit. Man, I wish Luxerion was as cool as that level. Like all these weird, like Anubis-looking mofos, and we're just blowing them away, and we're like wearing Valkyrie armor. That's such a great start to this game. And then I think that Luxerion has a good start, and then, like, for whatever reason, just to introduce the idea of this open world structure, there's that point where it's like, to complete the next part of the story, it needs to be midnight. And it's like, fuck. And I realize you can go to the end and just sleep through it, but I was really positive for, like, missions 1, 2, and 3 for Luxerion, and then once I got to that part with you have to collect the codes, and the last code is up here, and it's only accessible at night, or you can only get to the phone booth. You can use it at dark. That's when you got to do it. That's when things started to, I think, kludge up a little bit. But otherwise, it's really weird to think that this level has like 5 distinct acts to it, and it progressed up to that point pretty quickly, and I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, and it is very funny that the introductory section feels a lot like 10-2's initial concert scene. It's just this big tonal shift where we're at this party. It's almost like, what's that area in Mass Effect 2 where all the hedonism is?
Omega.
Omega, yeah. It's like you wake up and after 13.2, you're now in Omega in 13.3 at this rave, and then you have to chase Snow through a bunch of tight corridors because it's a 13 game. But yeah, once you're in Luxerion, and they named the world Nova Crystallia. So they have put Fabula Nova Crystallis. They closed the loop. This is Nova Crystallia. So yeah, in this game they put you in this place. You start in Luxeria by solving a murder. Mm-hmm. Someone who has hair like yours has been killed, and you have to find evidence that basically outs a bunch of cultists. You then need to like find some numbers scribbled on walls so you can get a passcode so that you can go into the base of the cultists. When you get in there, it turns out that the cultists worship Noel from Final Fantasy XIII 2, because there's a prophecy that Noel will kill lightning and bring about a new, better world. And so you have to stop the cultists. You chase Noel. Noel eventually says, I'm going to kill you, because if I kill you, then I will get to be with Yule, the prophet who you meet in 13.2. You fight Noel. Noel doesn't want to kill you. You beat Noel. The end. This whole plot beat, you can take the whole game to finish, or you can finish it in like a day of in-game time, and anything in between. There's not much plot here, other than Noel is very sad because he's existed as himself with the same character model for 500 years or something, and wants to just see Yule again. And he has some beats about that, like, I tried to save the world, but instead it just killed the world. What's killing you now that I've killed the world, Lightning? And Lightning's like, I don't even feel pain anymore. I don't even feel emotions. Killing one more friend, what's that? And they have a badass off and a sociopath off. And then you defeat Noel, and you steal his soul, because every time you solve someone's problems, a ball of their soul's light shoots into you, and you get leveled up and get an item. This game's a mess.
But it's a beautiful,
Yeah.
I don't mean beautiful as like literal beautiful, but it's kind of like what Jotsu kept saying during your streams and my streams when I was playing this game. It's a game that's dancing around and rolling in its own slop.
Yes.
And it just has a smile on its face, and you got to just say, you know what, Lightning Returns, you're all right. You're just all right.
I mean, playing like was not super stoked. Like a couple hours in, and then as soon as I was like, oh yeah, it turns out this guy that they're following is just Noel, just Noel in the same outfit he's been wearing for like 2 years. I was like, oh word,
No, 300
that's my boy.
That's my boy Noel.
Yeah, I was like, all right, let's see what they do with this dumb fuck. And
Everyone's favorite character, Noel Christ, with his one personality trait that he's in love with this like Farseer, 2 personality traits. He loves Yule, and Caius was his friend, and
Like
Sarah was his friend.
he has all of the character depth of the character from Opera Omnia, basically, but just written.
He has more
large.
depth than Opera Omnia. He has more depth than Opera Omnia than he does in the
Okay.
13 games.
Well, you said that, not me. So
Yeah, so like it's amazing that they're like, Noel, everyone's favorite character. Oh, of course. Like, I just kept thinking all these callbacks and shout outs to characters from the 13 games, like just kind of showing them and being like, look, this person you liked before, keep playing our Valkyrie profile game. And I think you should talk about that after I'm done. But I reminded when ZP says someone's first Final Fantasy game was 13, and to them, Final Fantasy is Final Fantasy 13. And boy, oh boy, that's true. And this game is kind of hoping that they can cash in on that. Like, there's someone who has nostalgia for these games.
I feel like I need to make this point again. Final Fantasy XIII was 2009, 2010 in international audiences. It's been over 10 years since that game came out. So there are 15-year-olds who are 25-year-olds who this was their introduction to the franchise, and they're totally fine. They were Gino, Jeff. There are people who grew up with 13 and they were totally fine with 15.
Look, they exist. It's true. And I will answer that the way that I always do. There are some kids who say that their favorite food is spaghetti with butter. And you're allowed, look, their favorite food is spaghetti with butter. That's fine. But just because we've had things that aren't spaghetti with butter doesn't mean we have to treat the spaghetti with butter people as though they're right. We don't.
So Valkyrie Profile is a really good game, and we should play it for Off the Deep End, Jeff. So this is the source of much speculation by fans, and it's a source of a bit of a controversy whether or not who had the biggest source of developmental influence on Lightning Returns. Square Enix first production department or Tri-Ace? Now, according to Square Enix, Tri-Ace just helped them with the graphics and the technical side of things in cinematics, which they did with 13-2.
Yeah.
If you're like me and you played Valkyrie Profile, you're kind of like, wait, this game plays exactly like Valkyrie Profile. Like, there's one character who occupies basically the character's avatar. They're kind of like weird hot swapping and costume attack things, and then you don't gain experience points. You get base attributes put into your character through feats and completion of side quests. This is exactly like Valkyrie Profile. So it's been for quite some time a fan theory that this was a Valkyrie Profile game that Square Enix did not approve or greenlight. And when Square Enix was kind of still wrangling with, all right, we got a basic idea of what we want the story to be, how do we make the gameplay work? The theory or the fan theory has been that this is just a scrapped Valkyrie Profile game masquerading as a Final Fantasy game. Because, yeah, it's kind of like Jeff said, say what you will about the paradigm system, but I think by 13.2, they were starting to finally get there in terms of making that paradigm kind of rhythm-based combat start to kind of work. But by hook or by crook, it was starting to kind of get there. And they completely just, they say, they basically shit can it here.
Yeah, and they say it's an action game now, which,
yeah.
I will say the action game component, it plays better than 13 or 13.2. I like playing Lightning Returns more because there's less juggling of stuff. You can always just like hot swap to the next job so that you can take more actions. My big complaint with Lightning Returns' combat is it still has the rhythm of a 13 game,
and it has the elemental affinity system. So it's like, why is this random encounter just completely destroying me? Which we have to talk about how this game tackles items, because that was pretty much a shock. Where it's like, I died and wait, I can't just pop by 99 Phoenix Downs and just keep going.
No,
shit,
you
I
have
lost
6
time
items, and if you died, yeah, you lose a day of an hour of in-game time.
It's like, such a pain in the ass. But
So all I was going to say is like the rhythm of the 13 games is you start combat, they are at 0 stagger. The goal is to get their stagger meter full. Once you get their stagger meter full, then you enter a phase where you can actually deal them damage. Then their stagger resets, and you do it again, and you do it again, and you do it again, and then they die, and that's it.
Yeah,
you just
it does
do
kind
the
of
loop
flatten your combat
over and over and over again.
I will say that there are weird bursts, especially when we get to the end of Luxurian, where you're dealing with that weird graveyard with a bunch of weird, spooky enemies that I feel like at that point of the game can one-shot you. Because, and this is the weird thing, you're not actually supposed to complete all of the chapters of any given environment all in one go. You're supposed to do like 3 in Luxurian, then go to the Wildlands and do 2 there, then go to the Dead Dunes and do 1 there, and then come back to Luxurian.
No, I'm not going to have a 50-page quest log before I go on to the next area. I'm going to try to clear the stuff in front of me because this game is big and there's a lot of stuff going on and there's no I'm not going to be able to keep it all in my head.
I did not like that format as well as what I'm saying.
So the point I was trying to make on the combat is that even though it's an action game, the actions that they are asking you to take are still these repetitive loops that you can really only screw them up but by your actions, similar to 13. Like 13, if you're doing things properly, it might take a half hour to win the battle or 20 minutes to win the battle, and if you just screw up your loop, you lose. If you do it correctly, the game just continues at pace. In this game, same thing, except if the avenues for screwing up are you had the wrong elemental abilities equipped when you entered combat, because sometimes you can just, oops, I didn't have arrow and I needed arrow. So, and also your parry timing. I didn't block at the right timing, so my block was not as efficacious as if I perfect blocked. So like there's more avenues for you to screw up in this game, and you, like ZP said, you don't have infinite items. You bring in your tool belt, and if your tool belt does not have the proper healing item, you're just kind of screwed. Like if you don't have a remedy and you get hit with some really bad debuffs, you might just die. If you don't have a Phoenix down because you didn't have one and you run into a bad enemy, like you can't run until you die, at which point you spend an in-game hour. Like I think it plays better than the 13 games do, like 13 and 13.2 do. But that doesn't mean I love this combat. It's just I feel it's more cohesive and free-flowing, and at least it gets around the, oh, well, your main character died problem from 13. Whereas in 13.2 it was, both of your main characters died. Your third character is the only one who's allowed to die. But yeah, and like doing away with leveling, say what you will about the leveling system in 13 and 13.2, there at least was a sense of progression that wasn't just go complete random missions. I don't know which one I like more because I didn't like the leveling in 13. This game, it's at least story-driven to a certain extent. It's just many of the stories that they're telling are, here's this random person, they want you to, get them a chimichanga. Oh, you got them a chimichanga, you've saved their soul.
I don't know, man. It's still pretty funny, though.
Yeah, every time I get someone a chimichanga.
And now the dog's happy.
And now it's going to go to heaven.
Yeah.
All dogs go to heaven.
Every single time the little orb just it's just weird. It's so like as Gonzo as 13-2 kind of aspired to be. This is really pretty nuts.
Yeah, this is one of the most absurd games I've ever played. It is rivaling Eternal Sonata in a lot of ways. In the like, this character is going to talk about the nature of man for like 5 minutes for no reason, but it's Friedrich Chopin in a top hat. You know,
and very similar to what we said about Eternal Sonata. When I have to play the game, my enthusiasm drops. When I get the story, god damn. Did either of you meet Vanille and she's dealing with the weight of listening to the screams of every person who has died prior to the events of this game?
I heard that that's a thing. I've started her quest line, but I haven't met her yet. But yeah, that sounds bad.
That's a thing I've heard. The other thing I've heard, but I've not experienced yet, is the Chocolina stuff. Which I kind of want to save until the next recording.
Don't reveal it, Gino.
Yeah, it's been spoiled for me now. But
yeah. So like this game,
there's just weird shit in this game, guys, and
yes,
man,
like it kind of reminds me of Mass Effect 3 in the way of just like they have to sort of tie a knot in all these things, and the ways they decided to tie all these knots is sometimes so like. Oh, that's what you come up with, huh?
Yeah, that's technically a resolution to a plot line, technically, I guess.
Gino, what if I told you the Chocobo Eater from Final Fantasy X makes a comeback in this game?
Oh, finally, great.
I mean, knowing how this game actually ends, which I already do, like, is kind of a beautiful bow on this thought specifically that I'm articulating. But, yeah. There's a lot. But yeah, this first sequence ends with you sort of reconciling with Noel and the game sort of gently encouraging you. Because like as you said, in a sense, you probably should be going around and doing shit. But in practice, I ain't got time for that. So I mainlined my way through Luxarian and I've checked that off. And I suppose I'm going to the nice part of town, what has the dance hall in it.
Yeah, I'm going to Party Town next to save Snow.
So I've already poked around in there a little bit.
It seems like each location you are trying to save a character from the previous games, which at least this game has more regard for the characters from the previous games than 13-2 did, I guess, to a certain extent. But it has done it by completely redefining who these characters are and what their plots are. Like, you know, they say, hey, Noel, here's that stuff that happened to you in the previous game. What's going on now? Well, I've spent 500 years thinking about how I wish I was with Yule, and now, because I've done almost nothing with my 500 years, I'm gonna fight you. So, like, this game...
And apparently Caius exists in this world, which, sure.
I think this game, the less respect you have for the 13 games, the better it is. This game, as long as you don't want any sort of coherent story, as long as you think all of these characters are dipshits who you can't care at all about, the funnier this game is and the better it is. But if I actually cared about these characters' plot lines, I would imagine I'd be a little bit frustrated that they basically retconned a lot of people. Yeah. Like, they act like the other games barely happened, except to say, plot point happened to me, and now I'm sad.
Like, it even goes down to the name of this. Like, they really mold calling this 13-3, apparently. And, you know, check out wikipedia.org/lightning returns for more hot information like this. But, like, they concluded, like, 13-3. When you start getting into that, it's like, well, I didn't play the other ones. So they're like, fuck, this thing needs to sell. So just introducing this basically a new product with... Like literally the name Lightning Returns was just like, this character is back and we're gonna low key like rehabilitate this. So you pulled that off by, I think, being pretty glib with all of your backstory shit and just sort of like having a tabula rasa. Like, what if she was just this cool Valkyrie, who worked for God and just, you know, went on cool adventures picking up dolls and fighting dipshits.
Yeah, what if she spent her time profiling people?
Yeah. Fucking...
Yes.
It's just a product born from adversity.
Oh, and also when she rescues people's souls, she takes them to feed their souls to Yggdrasil, the tree of eternity.
Plant.
That lives in a spaceship.
Yeah, that lives in a spaceship, a big white spaceship in the sky that
is
Hope
a god.
tells us is piloted by God.
Yes.
It's fucking unbelievably dumb.
Man, every time I go to that spaceship level, I just can't help but cackle and laugh.
Yeah, Hope beams you up there at 6 a.m. every single day. And
He
it's like, hey.
By the way, he's a talker. Holy crap. There's so much like walk and talk, like hand to your earpiece, like Gears of War DNA in this.
Yep.
Like just endless, like, hey, you should that's another difference with Shenmue, by the way. Like this game is constantly being like, hey, you should probably go over here. Hey, Lightning, did you know that there's a thing in the graveyard you should probably check out? Hey, Lightning, did you know that if you go to the other town at 5, like constantly having suggestions thrown at you. He's just so over communicative.
I love that Hope is in
for anime shit boy.
No. Well, he's a nominee. He won't beat
no.
The dude from Eternal Sonata.
I mean, he might not be Vic Van Leer. He might not be team owner.
But I will say I enjoy that Hope is the worst character in every Final Fantasy XIII game, but he's a different character functionally in each of them. And
I didn't hate him in 13-2.
He's not terrible. Yeah, that's not fair to 13-2. This
13-2's Adult Hope, where he's actually helping you by doing science. That was a cool concept.
That's not terrible. This guy, just the endless, like helicopter parent nature of him just makes me want to die.
They made him Navi.
Yes, they did.
They took the worst character from 13 and made him the character you hear from the most.
Speaking of other obvious Zelda things, maybe that's a thing that's in time. Maybe there's ceaseless. Maybe Amanda Seyfried's constantly calling JT, just being like, "Hey, you got to do the time. Give them the time.
Save them, Justin." All right, so with that, I think we've discussed as much Final Fantasy, Lightning Returns, Final Fantasy XIII as we can for the day.
I have no idea how far we go for the next episode. I think this is going to need at least 2 more episodes because this is a long game. We'll talk about it.
We'll see.
There's 2 more there's 5 main chapters in this game as far as I can tell. We've done one of them. I think we get 2 more of them under our belts. We come back, reconvene.
Yeah, and I don't know that we should we agree on the order we're doing these things? So
no, I think it would be funnier if we all did something different. So
yeah, okay. They let you go in a non-linear order. So yeah, let's touch different parts of the elephant. Come back.
Yeah, come back. I say that it's a wall. I say that it's a hose. I say that it's Final Fantasy X-2. Boy, this is...
This game wishes it was 10-2.
This game does wish it was 10-2. And, this might still end up being the best of the 13 games just because it's so dumb and knows that it's dumb.
I look back at 13-2 way more fondly than when we first played that game.
Yeah,
that
it's amazing how the less
Sarah
you play it.
Girl that's clearly some sort of evil devil Sarah.
Lumina.
Lumina makes me just cackle. Unbelievable.
Yeah, so we'll be
and the
back.
way they treat it, where she's like, "Oh yeah, maybe I bear a passing resemblance to someone you know," and more or less face blends her into Sarah, and you're like, "Oh shit!" It's Come
no
on,
shit.
Lightning. Did someone take they turned Lightning much like they did in 10-2? They turned Lightning into kind of a moron, like they did with Yuna. Basically.
Well, to be fair, we never knew that she was smart because she barely does anything in 13 to prove that she's
the one
smart.
thing that I'll say about the character quirk of Lightning in this game is I like her. Oh my god, I'm so fed up with everyone's bullshit attitude. I really like her being I guess I'm here. Whenever she goes to Chocolina, it's why don't you say my special cat phrase? Meow meow choco chow. She's like, fuck, what?
Yeah. The character that was implied in all of those scenes where she's punching Snow in 13, some of the only good parts of that game, is actually expressed in this game, and that's good. That's all right. That character doesn't do enough in 13, except for when she punches Snow. like the 2 or 3 times, and those are very good. But we're talking about literally about 1 minute of a very long game.
Yep. All right, so next time we will try to finish 2 more story beats in 13 in Lightning Returns. Thank you, ZP.
Meow, meow, choco chow.
Thank you, Jeff.
Final Fantasy. It's fine. They finally another one.
Finally. And thank you, listeners. Reminder, you can get in touch with the show at DeepListensPod on Twitter, deeplistens.libsyn.com. We have our comment sections, and deeplistens.libsyn.com. You can send us emails. You can also support the show at patreon.com/deeplistens. Till next time, peace.